anybody else's Duke Energy bill astronomically high this month? Mine was $400. What the hell?
What the hell is going on with Alabama Power? Cause this is some bull. My bill has went up around 60% compared to what it used to be.
In homes across America right now, before leaving for work, people are walking up to their breaker boxes. They are not just turning off the lights, they are manually flipping the switches for their washers, their water heaters, and their ovens. They are leaving only the refrigerator on. They are setting their thermostats to 60 degrees in the dead of winter, and at the end of the month, they are still opening utility bills for $400, $600, or even $800. The average American household is suddenly paying a mortgage-sized payment just to keep the lights on, and most people have no idea exactly what they are paying for.
So I just got my power bill, and it's almost $600. At the same time that I got it, I noticed a bunch of other people in my area are also posting about how their bills are between $600 and $1,600 for this last month. So if you're in the Puget Sound and you're on PSE, that's Puget Sound Energy, I'm just curious, what was your power bill like this month? And were you really using any abnormal power? I looked at my power usage from a year ago, and we are exactly the same. Last February, we used the exact same amount of power and paid almost $200 less. And our power bill is still high compared to everyone else that I know, even last year. So what's going on? Why is our power going through the roof to the point where it's unaffordable? And we already live in a really unaffordable area. I don't understand why the PSE power bill is going through the roof. At what point do we just say, shut it off, let's go back to the Stone Age? I'm out here cutting firewood because I'm turning my heater off. We only had our heaters set to about 65, which is most people's, we're gonna leave the house temperature. That's our live-in temperature. And our power bill is insane. I just don't get it. If you own a house in Pierce County and you're on PSE, and you wanna sell it, give me a call. I'm getting ready. Like this is this is ridiculous.
So let's talk about Alabama Power. So my bill has been higher than giraffe ass, and I thought that maybe it was because of my house, trailer house, whatever. But I've been seeing a lot of videos the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks on TikTok about people talking about Alabama Power bills and how high it is. And I'm like, okay, so maybe it ain't just me. I got a 90 model double wide. It's got a whole add-on on the back of it, so in total it's like a 7-bed, 3-bath. It's got 2 3-ton package units on it. And then during the middle of June and July, my power bill was like $800, $825 or something like that. So I went up there, I was like, hey, there ain't no way. She was like, oh yeah, you're burning too many kilowatts. I'm like, yeah, but how much y'all charging per kilowatt? And she wouldn't ever really give me an answer. So I'm like, all right. So then the next month, I turned the back unit off, made sure we only, wash clothes once a week, something like that, turn all the lights off, stuff like that, still the same. It's $760, $780. I'm like, there ain't no damn way. So then I start seeing these videos. I'm like, okay, now everything's starting to add up and make sense. Something ain't right. Because a few years back, I lived in a house that was on Wiregrass Electric. And when I first moved in there, I had it on prepaid, meaning you could call and pay it daily. You pay for that amount for that day, which was like $4 to $6 a day. So, you're looking at $200, maybe $250 a month, which is about right. Which Alabama Power used to be like that years ago, but now they are just straight up gouging people. And, something needs to be done about it. The bad thing is you can't. I've got one option where I live, Alabama Power. If you don't pay it, you ain't got no power. So I've gotten to the point where I'm nearby ready to buy a big ass generator and set up my yard, and it'd be cheaper to buy diesel fuel. Because this is ridiculous. Even right now, during the wintertime, my power bill is still $500 and $600. Why? We ain't running no heaters hardly. We got like 1 or 2 space heaters maybe, and that's about it. Washer and dryer once a week. This shit is ridiculous. Alabama Power, if you see this, y'all need to drop them rates per kilowatt. I don't know what y'all charging, but it's obviously way too damn much. and the shit's ridiculous. You know, these people work hard for their money, and this day and time, everything's expensive. It is a struggle to survive in this world, and y'all just gouging people, man. Y'all got to do better with this. So y'all let me know in the comments if y'all have any problems, or if you're on Alabama Power and if your power bill is high as hell, because mine damn sure is, and something needs to be done about this.
This is another rant. $475 for a gas bill. 1 month. Just 1 month. That's it. $475. I hate to see next month.
Alabama Power. Alabama Power. Hope you're listening. January 1st is right around the corner. And I want you to know that everybody in this state is on to your bullcrap corruption. We are. And let me tell you what people have gotten smart enough to do to catch you. It's gotten so bad that we Alabamians are paying so much for our power bills, $400 to $500 to $700 a month, that what we started doing is we've started turning our breakers off. We started turning everything off, and we're keeping up with it. And you're still charging us your outlandish bullshit prices. Something's not right with that. How am I using the same amount of power when everything is being shut off? Alabama Power. Someone's going to answer, and it's fixing to be soon. Because like I say, the people here in Alabama, we're tired of your bullshit. We're tired of paying more for our power here than we pay for our house payments. That's the truth. People here in Alabama are literally having to decide, are we going to pay our power bill this month, or are we going to eat and pay a house payment? That's how bad it's gotten with our power bill. And if you're budget billing, be careful. I've done heard that's messed some of you up.
The cost of electricity in New Jersey and probably other parts of the United States is absolutely insane, and it's all because of AI data centers. It is estimated that since June, electricity costs have gone up 21%. This last month, I tried really hard to unplug everything that wasn't in use. I reduced the amount of times I used electric appliances. I didn't make a dent. Like, I looked at my electric bill 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It is nearly double. It's insane because I feel like there's nothing that I can do, and all this money is being taken. They don't want you to succeed. No matter how many people protest against AI data centers, no matter how many people go to town hall meetings, no matter how many people say we don't want this, they don't care, because they care more about their profit because they're greedy. Greed is evil, and greed will be the end of a lot of things in this beautiful life that we live.
I called Alabama Power yesterday and asked them to cut off my budget billing. And they told me that if I cut my budget billing off, it would cost me $715 to cut off my budget billing. So then I started asking questions like, well, since my power bill used to be $280 a month and now it's $480, what's the reasoning behind that? Like how much power am I using actually at the end of the month? And the lady told me that last month and the month before last, I used $280 worth of power, but because I'm on budget billing, it cost me $480. And like I said, it cost me $715 to cancel it if I wanted to cancel it. And so then I asked, well, how much, in order for me to be on budget billing, why is it $480 a month if I'm using $280 worth of power? And she said in the peak months, I was using about $480 to $500 worth of power in the peak months, like July, August, and obviously January, February. It's gotten out of hand. Not to mention, the taxes on everything, the fact that we're paying taxes on the profits that they're making off of us is just insane. I didn't come off budget billing because I'm not going to pay $715 to come off budget billing, but they did say that next month it would be lower than $715. If I wanted to come off budget billing, it would cost me around $600 to come off budget billing. So I'm likely going to do that because every month after that, my power bill should go back down to around $280 to $300 a month. And that's still high, but I do have a large home. So I understand I do use more power than probably the typical, citizen.
Hey, we live in central Illinois. Our electric rates just went up 50%. My nephew has a ranch home that's probably 1,200 square feet, and his bill went from $260 to $560 in the last month. No difference in usage. The company just increased their rates 50%.
Has anybody else's electric Ameren bills like doubled or tripled this month? Because ours went from like $200 to almost $500. We literally live in the tiniest house ever. We run bare minimum electricity. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, everybody on my TikTok is flabbergasted as fuck because Georgia Power, what y'all really got going on? Can't nobody pay for this. Even if we can't afford it. You think I'm finna give you $400? For what though? Like, for what? Literally for what? My Georgia Power bill is $410 and they expect me to pay that shit today or it's gonna get cut off. But they say light that candle up, baby. Cause I'm not. I know, like, that's not right. I don't give a if I did run it. That's not right. That's not right.
My electric bill is $314.89. See, if you don't believe me, $314.89. That's crazy. Is anybody else's electric bill that high? This is the highest one we've had this year. And I remember in the summers when it used to be $150 and I thought that was crazy high. Now it's $314. Why? Why is it so expensive? We do live in Kentucky, so it does get really, really hot here. But like I said, our bills have never been over $300 like they are now. We leave our air conditioning on 73, pretty much 24/7. So I don't think that's super, super low or anything. We don't have like a pool or a hot tub, although I would love a hot tub. We don't have anything like that we run. We just have a regular house. It is 2 stories, so we do have 2 units, air conditioning units. But you know, our house is only 2,400 square feet about. $314.89. To me, that is way too expensive.
We just got back our gas and electricity bill for this month and it was $810. Everyone in my area has been saying that their bill has been really expensive this month. The gas and electric company that basically owns the area has been posting like through the news to expect higher bills. Our bill was $810 this month. Last month it was $206. How can they possibly get away with this? I mean, like, everybody in the area is talking about protesting, shutting off their heat, but I have 3 kids. I have 2 nonverbal autistic children that we have to send to therapy for that costs us $10,000 a year. And now I'm like, can we even send them to therapy if we have to pay over $800 a month just to have heat and electric in our home? For reference, we live in a 1,250 square foot ranch brick home, so our home is not even that big. I just want to know how they can get away with this. They are price gouging the American people. There's no repercussions. Something has to change.
I just had a single mom send me her power bill so far. She can check it daily. She leaves to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. She gets home at 9 o'clock at night. Again, she's a single mom. She does work a lot of hours. She picks her child up from her parents' house. She gets home around 9. Everything is cut off when she walks out the door. She said the only thing she does is she has her refrigerator running, of course, and her heat. She keeps on 65 every day. She never touches it. She is using $48 worth of power a day. That's what it reads for her. She can check it. $48. At this point, she says, when her bill comes next month, she will have to choose pay that power bill and keep her lights on with Alabama Power, or feed her child and groceries, necessities, and figure out how she's going to pay all of her rent. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't have to try to figure out how we're going to live just because of greedy people like Alabama Power. Something has to be done.
We're at my mom's house. We're shooting video in New Jersey and New York, and she's showing me and Colton her gas bill. And she has a 3-bedroom little ranch, just like these ones across the road. Her gas bill in New Jersey was $400. Last year it was $200. How cold is it?
It's freezing.
And why people are homeless. $400 for a fixed income mother.
So, can someone please explain to me why everyone's electric bills are skyrocketing? I understand the heat and the pull of everything. I have literally I'm turning my breaker off to my oven, my microwave, my washer, my dryer. If it's not in use, the breakers are going off. We've unplugged almost everything from every outlet. We are not running any night lights at all at night except the security light out on the telephone pole. My bill that is due by, I believe, the 10th was $1,013. We even had our electric off for a few days because we were getting all new ductwork in our house with and ran all new lines from the trunk line to each register and vent. So the power was off for those few days last month. Plus, we had some higher temperatures, and I still ended up with a bill. 1 month bill. 1 month. No past due anything. $1,013. This is absurd. It's very stressful. I'm going to need a GoFundMe just to afford my electric bill. I have luckily been in such good graces with my truck payment and my husband's truck payments that they did a forgiveness of let me put one payment of each to the end of the loans. My truck is $640. My husband's is $330. And with that being said, pulling all that money to pay this month's bill that is due by the 10th. Is anybody else having these issues? Like, what the heck? I had a buddy at work, and he said his electric bill was $300. They about had a heart attack. Try $1,000. This is not fair. What the heck is going on? Last year in January, we used more wattage, 5,400 wattage, and our bill was only $656. This year we used 5,200, $1,013. The math isn't mathing, and I don't give a crap what my supplier is because I shop for the lowest supplier, but this time Constellation was 10 cents, where last year it was 5 cents. And it does add up. Who would think these little cents would cost so much? So explain to me why the supplier was $500 and the delivery itself, shouldn't it all be just one? Delivery was like $400 or something. Should it just be one, not just have a delivery and a service? I'm sorry, this is a massive ripoff in Ohio. I think there needs to be a huge class action lawsuit, because how can everybody else afford this? Luckily, my husband and I are making decent money. We have big bills. Affording these bills, I don't know what to do. This is absurd. Anybody got any advice other than turning Amish?
Come with me to get ready to leave the house to go to work thanks to Dominion Energy. Let me show you what I do every single day I leave the home for the last month. Welcome to my meter box. We're going to switch off the bedroom, the washer, the kitchen counter, the dryer. We leave the outside unit on. We're going to even turn off the water heater. We're going to turn off the middle bedroom, the bathroom, the living room. Refrigerator stays on, the range stays on, the heat stays on. Everything else is off. But wait, there's more. We're going to come over here to this beautiful little electric panel. All right, as you can see, set to 68. We're going to move this all the way down to 60. It's down to 60. And now I'm going to go ahead and put on my coat and go to work.
Oh, you're going to get your electric bills. Oh, yeah.
And one thing you're going to see is that the electric is much, much higher, that your bills are exploding right in front of you. This month, next month, the month after that, yeah, the bills are just going to keep getting higher and higher and higher. But don't worry. Your utilities companies, they want it to go even higher. Yeah, they want $31 billion more from you. Yeah, it's not enough to double your bill. They're looking to triple and quadruple your bill. Because guess what? You have to pay it. Otherwise, they're going to shut it off. So yeah, the millions of people right now across the country that are behind on their electric bills, don't worry. It's about to get a lot worse.
Okay, I made a video about this a few months ago about how insane the electric prices in New Jersey have gotten, and it has somehow gotten worse since that. We just got our bill for December 5th through January 6th. We live in a 1,200 square foot house. We don't use a ton of electricity. We use gas now because it's been cold, but we keep our house at 68 degrees every single day. So we're not pumping the gas. I am diligent about the lights being off unless we are in the room. And if it's daytime, the lights are off. Let me just show you what our bill is. This is disgusting. I don't know if they're trying to price people out of the state or what's happening, but here we go. $742.50. Just tack that 50 cents on there just for good measure. $742 to keep your lights on and heat your house.
If you're going to charge me $430 for electric, at least be able to explain to me why when I call. Because I will go look at my meter readings myself, because $430 for an electric bill is wild. When I call and ask you to explain it to me and you can't give me then something needs to come off this bill. Because there's no way that my electric bill for myself and a small child that we're not even ever home is $430. $150 at most, $200, maybe $220, but $430, you have some explaining to do, and if you can't explain it, I need some charges off this bill dropped. So PSE&G, you better get your shit together and count your days, because what is that? Why am I seeing that everyone's bill's going up by hundreds of dollars, and then you don't have a reason and an explanation why? If you're going to do something like that, when people call and they're pissed off, you better have a good reason. Because if you don't, then I want money credited to my next year bill, because absolutely not. $430 is an absolute no for me.
How many of y'all got an $820 energy bill? I'm in South Haven, Mississippi, and I just went and opened up my bill today. Yeah, today I opened it up, and I don't know what company provides y'all energy, but energy provides it for me here in South Haven, Mississippi. For the past few months, it's gone up significantly. I'm talking $600 a month, now $820 a month. Now look, I once had 6 people living here, okay? 6 with all my kids. My energy bill was at the most $300 a month. Okay, now how is it that it's me, my husband, and 1 kid, and our energy bill is $820 a month? And what am I supposed to do about it? You know what I'm saying? There's only one company that we can use. This is ridiculous, and I need to know who else over here got a big bill, because I am sick and tired of it. That's a freaking house note. It is a freaking house note, and I just don't get it. Something needs to be done. These big companies out here are just taking advantage of people and just stealing our money. And I'm fed up. What can I do? Somebody help me out, because I need to fix this.
Our electric bill for last month is $350. We used 40 more kilowatts or whatever it is than last month, and it is up over $40 than it was the previous month. It is ridiculous. It is just 2 of us, and we don't ever have lights on, nothing. It is nuts. How is it $350? Which brings me to my second point. What are we gonna do during this severe winter storm, or whatever it's being called. Like, is my electric bill going to be $5,000 next month? I am truly nervous. I am hanging blankets over everything. Nobody's opening the door. Everything's staying off. Like, what do we do? What do you do to preserve your energy?
I'm John Marks. If you enjoyed this kind of content, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. More videos are coming. Let's talk about what is actually happening right now in the homes of ordinary families. From the Pacific Northwest down to Alabama and all the way up to New Jersey, the exact same story is playing out. A family checks their mail or their email. They open their electric or natural gas bill for the month. They expect it to be maybe $200, which used to be considered high. Instead, the balance due is $400, $600, or even $800. They assume there has been a clerical mistake. They assume a meter reader wrote down the wrong number. But when they call the utility company, they are told the reading is perfectly accurate, so they dig deeper. They pull up last year's statement from the exact same month. They look at the actual usage. The amount of kilowatt hours they consumed is exactly the same. In some cases, because they have been trying to save money, the usage is actually lower. But the final price they are expected to pay has doubled. This is happening to millions of people simultaneously. And yet, the official economic narrative tells them that inflation is cooling down. The disconnect between what the system reports and what the consumer is paying has never been wider. If you have noticed this happening to your own bills, you are not crazy. You are not imagining it. You have not suddenly started leaving all the lights on. You are not doing anything wrong. You are being subjected to a massive structural shift in how basic utilities are priced in this country. And the people in charge of the system are hoping you will just quietly pay the bill. To understand why this is happening, you have to look at what the utility companies are quietly doing behind closed doors. They are not simply passing along the cost of fuel. They are fundamentally rewriting the baseline cost of electricity. In 2025, electric and natural gas utilities across the United States formally requested nearly $31 billion in rate increases. That is $31 billion. To put that in perspective, that is more than double the $15 billion they requested in 2024, and they are not stopping there. In just the first quarter of 2026, these monopolies asked state regulators for another $9.4 billion in hikes. These numbers are staggering, and they represent permanent structural increases to the base rate that you pay before you even flip a light switch. Since 2021, retail electricity prices have increased by nearly 40% overall. The cost of piped natural gas has gone up even faster. Electricity is no longer just a utility. It has become one of the fastest drivers of inflation, outpacing groceries, gasoline, and medicine. For a family of 4 living in a standard 3-bedroom house, this translates into a brutal reality. It means an extra $100 or $150 a month every single month, just for the privilege of keeping the house functional. That is money siphoned directly out of the local economy. It is money that does not go to the grocery store, or the mechanic, or the savings account. And when you ask the utility companies why this is happening, they give you a rehearsed list of excuses. But they leave out the biggest factor of all. Before we get to the real reason prices are skyrocketing, we need to look at how the utility companies are managing the public anger, because they know people cannot afford these sudden spikes. Their solution is a program you have probably been offered. It is called budget billing. The pitch sounds helpful. They tell you that instead of paying high bills in the summer and winter, they will average out your usage and give you one predictable monthly payment. It sounds like financial stability. But for a growing number of Americans, it has become a financial trap. Here is how it actually works in practice. A customer might use $280 worth of electricity in a given month, but because they are enrolled in budget billing, the algorithm charges them $480. The utility company takes the extra $200 and holds it to build a buffer for the peak months. The customer is essentially giving a multi-billion-dollar corporation an interest-free loan every single month. And when the customer realizes what is happening, they try to opt out. That is when the trap snaps shut. When a family calls to cancel their budget billing and return to paying for exactly what they use, the utility company hits them with a massive reconciliation fee. Some people are being told it will cost them $700 just to cancel the program. They do not have $700 laying around, so they are forced to stay in the program, paying artificially inflated rates month after month. They are boxed in, and there is no competitor they can switch to. But the biggest driver of your exploding utility bill is something happening hundreds of miles away from your house. We are currently in the middle of a historic, unprecedented build-out of infrastructure for artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence requires an astronomical amount of electricity. AI relies on massive data centers. These are warehouse-sized facilities packed with advanced servers that run 24 hours a day. And those servers generate so much heat that they require equally massive, energy-intensive cooling systems just to keep from catching fire. The power demand from these data centers is completely transforming the American energy grid. The United States data center power demand is projected to more than double between 2025 and 2027. We are talking about jumping from 31 gigawatts to 66 gigawatts in just 2 years. To put that in perspective, that kind of power draw is the equivalent of adding several major cities to the grid all at once. And it does not just happen quietly, it strains the entire regional infrastructure. In places like Virginia, Ohio, and New Jersey, these massive facilities are overwhelming a grid that was built a century ago. During peak demand times, the grid becomes congested. When that happens, grid operators have to buy the most expensive, last resort power available just to prevent blackouts. And the cost of that emergency power gets baked into the rates of every single person connected to the system. You are paying for the congestion. But the cost of generating the power is only half the story. The other half is the cost of delivering it. The grid requires billions upon billions of dollars in new upgrades to handle this massive new demand from tech companies. New high-voltage transmission lines must be strung, massive new substations must be constructed, the physical infrastructure of the country has to be rebuilt to support the artificial intelligence boom, and the obvious question is, who is paying for that construction? Under the current regulatory system, the cost of expanding and maintaining the grid is often socialized. It is spread out and passed down to every single ratepayer. That means the fixed costs of the poles, the wires, and the transformers are divided up among the public. The utility companies call it grid hardening. They say it is necessary for reliability. And while it is true that the grid needs updates, the scale of this current expansion is being driven by corporate tech giants, not by everyday citizens. And this leads to a bitter reality. The residential ratepayer is subsidizing the future of technology. The retired couple on a fixed income, the single mother working 2 jobs, the working class family trying to make rent. They are all paying higher delivery charges so that trillion-dollar tech companies can run their server farms without interruption. The profits are privatized, but the infrastructure costs are shared by you. Now, if you listen to the utility companies, they will tell you they are just scraping by. They will claim that inflation and supply chain issues are forcing their hand. They act as if they are victims of the exact same economy that you are. But the financial data tells a completely different story. While American families are literally unscrewing light bulbs to save pennies, the utility sector is experiencing a golden age of profitability. In recent years, the profits of over 100 for-profit utility companies rose from just under $39 billion to over $52 billion. That is a massive jump in pure profit, extracted directly from the working class. Utilities are fundamentally different from other businesses. They operate as state-sanctioned monopolies. If a grocery store doubles the price of milk, you can drive to a different store. If your utility company doubles the price of electricity, you have no alternative. You either pay the bill or you sit in the dark. And these companies are guaranteed a rate of return by state regulators. When they spend billions of dollars building new infrastructure, they are allowed to pass those costs to the consumer, plus a guaranteed profit margin. They are financially incentivized to build massive, expensive projects. The more they spend, the more profit they are allowed to collect from your monthly bill. The system is functioning exactly as it was designed. It just was not designed to protect you. And this is where the numbers stop being abstract. This is where it hits the kitchen table. We are seeing things in this country that should not be happening. People are going to extreme lengths just to survive the winter. Families are turning off the breakers to their ovens and washing machines before they leave for work. They are keeping their thermostats at 60 degrees, walking around their own homes in heavy winter coats. And even with all of those sacrifices, they are still receiving bills for $500. Think about the impossible choices this creates. I read a documented account of a single mother who works 15 hours a day. She leaves her house dark, she keeps the heat at 65. And her smart meter still tells her she is using $48 of power every single day. At the end of the month, she has to make a calculation that no one should have to make. She has to decide whether to pay the power company or buy groceries for her child. She has to choose between keeping the lights on and paying the rent. This is the hidden tax of the modern American economy. It is the steady, quiet draining of the middle class. People who work full-time jobs, who do everything right, are being pushed to the absolute limit. They are cutting firewood in the suburbs because they cannot afford the gas to heat their homes. They are wondering when the breaking point will finally arrive. In the end, someone always absorbs the cost of all this progress. The massive tech companies will get their data centers, the utility monopolies will get their guaranteed returns, the grid will be expanded, but the bill for that expansion arrives in a white envelope every month to a house that is already freezing. In the end, the people who notice first are the ones who have to live the consequences. And if you shop for your family and pay the bills in America, you already know exactly who is paying for it. Thanks for watching. Support links are in the description and on screen.